All right, here we are, where I will do a few finishing touches on this Dave Gilmore. Whoa, sorry about that image, and we'll move on to other things. I realized, hey, I need to get back to my Roman Emperor series. So up next will be Caligula. So I'll draw that. Guess put some fingernails there. And Gilmore will just act like it shades there. I mean, sure, it would, wouldn't it? Yeah, I guess that's about it for this one. And then, time permitting, we'll move on over to the Photoshop to go ahead and color the image. You know, the original, of course, will just be this. So I'll go ahead and sign it. There we go. Yay! Dave Gilmore. Wish you were here. All right. So, that's Dave. Now, this one was the thing I was working on for one of the Nailsin News videos. And I was going to pull it up and play it. I don't know. Maybe I guess I could. I don't know how that would work. If it's possible for it, if I put it in OBS maybe, as I worked on this as a, a coloring project. Put the color to these two. Maybe that would work. I could try it anyway, but it's really long. It's like 13 minutes long. I didn't realize, but it's a long-winded story about their problem stuff. So, but this would be like the corner art of the image of them. This taken from a time of happier times before she started cheating on him and spending all his money on her new boyfriend, who's not all that new. He's only like 3 years younger than her much older husband, but very, very wealthy man. And really, like the New York Post are all they was like, and he knew Jeffrey Epstein, but there was no real shenanigans or anything between them. But, yeah, they throw that in there. So in the midst of this ugly divorce, he's got to, yeah, I briefly knew the guy. Leave me alone. Stuff like that. A. Thompson says, and tweet it to him. Earl is a good guy. Tweet what to him? And I don't know. You mean Earl Skakel? I don't know. Nodak says, hit the like button. Good idea. Thompson says, something about those Earl dog walking streams. They were so much fun to watch. Uh-huh. Well, all right then. So here, little finishing touches on this sad couple, Why couldn't it work? I don't know. I guess she got bored, and then this Alejandro guy busted a move on her, and she was like, and So anyway, that's that story. What's the other one I did? Oh yeah, the Cooter and Lacey drawing. Probably did a better one on her because this lady, I forget her name. I mean, this was the one who stayed the long because there were at least two other. Loretta Swit. Was it like a TV movie or something? And she was the blonde. I don't know if it was the same woman. And then, like the initial pilot or something like that was that lady. I forget her name, but she always had the weird eyes and stuff. They were just kind of cool looking, and she was in a lot of different stuff. I remember she played Evil Lynn in the Dolph Lundgren He-Man movie. But she was like the original Lacey or something. And then it was this blonde lady. Or maybe Loretta Swit followed her, and then she became the main blonde lady of the TV series. And all that. Eventually, though, long after the show was over, I think, some deranged lesbian broke into her home seeking to, I don't know, kill her or kidnap her. Was, obsessed with her. And she just happened to not be home at the time. And there was a standoff with police and everything. They had to get her out of there. And, that's how that goes. Well, the perils of fame. Anyway, that's it for Cagney and Lacey. And then, of course, I don't know what this is about, but someone said they wanted me to draw a picture of Kevin shoving Chad over a fence. So I did, but I don't really know what it's in reference to. So that's it's strange. But, well, anyway, there we go. So I guess it's on to Caligula. That'll be the main feature. I was originally going to do a whole Nailsin news thing, but I got sidetracked with Pat's show. So, I don't know, maybe tonight. I don't know. Lois died. I don't know, Lois. It's always so sad when a dog dies. Cat's not so much. So Lois is your dog? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. All right. Let me get my image of Caligula. This particular bust, for some reason, I think it captures probably what he actually looked like. Because there's kind of this snotty look on the face. And, he was an evil bastard. And just nuts. However, there is a certain excuse, as it appears he probably suffered some sort of brain damage from this terrible fever he suffered. Because about all accounts, a lot of people were really optimistic about his reign because they'd been through Tiberius and what a nasty old perverted creep he was. And then now they had this new young emperor in Caligula. And at first, things seemed to go well, and he did a lot of things. I forget exactly what, but that, the populace really were happy with. And so seemingly, things were going well. And then he gets sick with this fever. And it was really bad. He nearly died from it. And people weren't sure. He's like, oh, well, that didn't last long. It was too bad. And but he managed to recover from it, seemingly. But then something was off, as that's when all the crazy crap began to happen. So, goofy things like making his horse a senator, so the brings the horse into the Senate just to stick it to them, to mock them and all that, And then, of course, he started having the weird orgies and stuff, and would have sex with the senators' wives, and they had to do it, and that kind of thing. So, yeah, they weren't. They were like, oh no, and it's just Tiberius all over again, except in a different way. I mean, but nevertheless, it seems that perhaps whatever, uh, you know, weird things or predilections for Caligula, he was able to keep that tamped down. But once the fever hit, whatever reservations he had were gone. And then he just got really weird and was getting nuttier and nuttier. And then they'd already introduced emperor worship, but he really wanted people to see him as a god. Apparently felt that he was actually, Zeus or Jupiter rather, and stuff like that. And so he ordered that all the busts of the different gods they worshiped be replaced with his bust. The statues would remain, but their heads would be his head. Like he didn't want any other god worship except for him. And actually insisted that this be done to like Jewish synagogues and stuff. They had to have his statue in there and all this type of stuff. So you can imagine, they're like, well, this is a problem. And stuff like that. And I think he declared war on Neptune, the god of the sea, and crazy shit like that, and would attack the beach or whatever because he was going to war. So he comes back with a treasure trove of seashells, saying, "Look at what I brought back to Rome for the glory of Rome. I captured all these seashells from the kingdom of Neptune," and stuff like that. The other thing he did was he would mock mock the military, and this would include his own Praetorian Guard, and that's where he really messes up, because eventually, it's like, we've had enough of your crap. And I think he married his sister, and I can't remember if it was actually official that he ended up killing her because she was pregnant with a child, and he became convinced the child would surpass him, just like in the myths of the gods and all that. So he kills her. He was going to cut the baby out of her, and of course she bled to death. Something like that. I don't know if that was actually official. I mean, it is in the I, Claudius series, which is great. I recommend it. But he married his sister because he figured, well, I'm a god, I can, just like the gods did. Because, Zeus married Hera, who was his sister, and all that. So he figured, hey, why not me? And so he married his sister. It's either that or she died in childbirth. But no, I think he did, But anyway, so he was a monster. And but eventually the Praetorian Guard, which are the soldiers that are assigned to protect the emperor, finally had enough of this little bastard's weird crap. And he was attending the games, gladiatorial contest or whatever. And then after he had enough of that, was leaving, and the soldiers maneuvered him in the hallway underneath the Colosseum and cornered him, and they all took turns stabbing him to death. And then there you go, the emperor's dead, Everybody was kind of in a bit of chaos. So the Praetorian Guard, they've got a problem here because they don't want to go back to just being regular soldiers in the military. So they've got to establish a new emperor, and they were going to pick the one that it could be. And so Caligula's uncle Claudius, they found him hiding behind a curtain in the palace because he didn't know what the hell was going on. Was it like a revolt and all this sort of stuff? And they were going to kill the whole family that would be heirs to the throne, perhaps. Didn't really know. And the soldiers find him, and they decide, okay, we recognize you as the true emperor of Rome. And that was that. Claudius became emperor. Now, in the I, Claudius series, it fleshes out the story and whatnot. It's fictionalized, but you kind of get the idea that, yeah, I bet something of that nature occurred there. And Claudius, of course, like everybody else, was deathly terrified of Caligula because you just never knew what he was going to do. But Caligula actually had quite the fondness for Claudius, and it kind of saw him as a representation of the god Vulcan, who's based on Hephaestus of the Greek version. And of course, Vulcan was sort of the blacksmith of the gods, but he was often described as the ugliest of the gods, and he was lame and all this stuff. And of course, same thing was true of Claudius. He was lame, and he had a speech impediment, stuttered and this sort of thing. But as it turns out, he was actually quite brilliant. But, him maintaining the visage that he was this bumbling idiot, no one took him serious, like he might be a threat or perceived him as such. So basically, because Caligula just liked him, made fun of him, mocked him, treated him badly, but at the same time, never had any intention of hurting him because he liked having him around. And he's just kind of this trapped witness of the horrors of his crazy nephew, Caligula. And that's how that played out. And finally, after the horrors of Tiberius and the horrors of Caligula, they ended up with Emperor Claudius, who, by all accounts, was probably their best emperor up to that point. I mean, Augustus had a good reign, and it was he wasn't nuts or anything like that, and was a capable leader. But then they got stuck with Tiberius, who had his own problems. He doesn't have the excuse of having had some weird brain damaging fever like Caligula did. So at least you can say, oh boy, if he only hadn't had that fever, he might not have been so screwed up or whatever. But I don't know, considering he grew up under the Tiberius regime, one can't help but wonder if he was one of the ones abused by Tiberius, that sort of thing. But nevertheless, the fever really did a number on him. And so he's got that, but for Tiberius, there was never anything like that. One of the other interesting things about Caligula is this is one of these weird enigmas about the book of Revelation. Now, the main book that everyone knows is that the mark of the beast is the 3 6s, And ultimately it says that for the numerology business of names, that it actually comes out to be the Emperor Nero, who was the one to succeed Claudius. And then they're back to an evil, creepy bastard who ends up having to take his own life before he's executed by his own men. So they were right back into the mess with him, and he was a vile, monstrous man and of course persecuted the Christians quite a bit. So you can kind of understand why he might have been seen as a model for what the passages of the Antichrist would be. However, another copy of the book later uncovered is very old, so you kind of wonder. It's basically the same book of Revelation and everything that you have in the Bible, except when it comes to the Antichrist, the number is 616, not 3 sixes. So it's like, well, if you're applying this to someone's specific name, which is the point of it, then who does it fit? And he said, well, it fits Caligula. Now, Caligula, of course, it wasn't just the Romans he expected to worship him. He expected everybody to worship him. And so he insisted, and this would have been in the face of the fledgling Christian church forming. Of course, there's the Jews themselves. He was insisting that their temple have his statue in it. Yeah, I think I said synagogue. They hadn't come up with the synagogues yet, but they did have the temple in Israel and all that. And it's that kind of in-your-face thing that he was doing, and so that would have been very serious blasphemy to them. And of course, shitty Caligula, he didn't care. So there again, it could be that's an inspiration for the number, at least in that iteration of the book, that this Antichrist would be akin to the likes of Nero and or Caligula, of these political leaders who demand that you turn away from your God and worship them instead. So, something of that nature for this sick turd of a man. Who knows? But, that's the difference in the numbers for those. Yeah. All right. Well, there we go. That's the Caligula drawing. So I guess I'll go ahead and play a Nailsin News video that I have, because the other night or last night or the morning, I forget. I did the Photoshop artwork for different Nailsin News segments. And the problem with the ones I initially did in the live stream was, well, my face on camera appears off to the corner, and I had the banner running. I don't have it now. I mean, I got my super tip link up there. Super tips are greatly appreciated. And it just doesn't look that great. So it's just, so I redid it. So I taped the segment with the article and read it, and then took the photoshopped image of the suspect and placed her on it. So I'll play that as I prepare to come back with the Photoshop.
This is a Nailsin News Bulletin. Unhinged mom fires handgun, throws bowl of soup at server in wild sushi restaurant meltdown. Aaliyah in Moorhead, 31, was inside the Kirkwood Eatery on a Wednesday night with her 9-year-old child and another adult woman, where police say she became agitated over an issue with her order. Wasabi Sushi Bar staff offered to fix the order, but Moorhead began swearing at a server and was promptly asked to leave. Moorhead then threw a bowl of soup at the server, striking him and other people inside of the restaurant. The male employee tried to block himself from Moorhead's onslaught with a chair, but she grabbed it and threw it. The unhinged woman then took out a 9mm Glock handgun and said to the employee, "You're going to get it," before firing a single shot in his direction shortly after 8:30 p.m. At the time of the shooting, Moorhead's daughter was walking between her mother and the server. The shot missed the server and went through a refrigerator, striking a wall. No one was reported injured from the shooting. Yeah, well, thanks for dumb luck. Good Lord, she almost shot her own kid. What an idiot. Moorhead later told local cops that she believed the restaurant staff were rude to her and her family on arrival, and that she had overheard the chefs making racial and derogatory comments about herself and her family in Spanish through a translation feature on her AirPods. Spanish? It's a wasabi sushi bar. Well, all right. Police said the restaurant manager told officers that the woman and her family drove away in a white SUV, which was located a short time later by police, and the occupants of the vehicle were detained. Moorhead, her child, and the other adult woman were identified by police after reviewing the restaurant's security footage. "You're going to get it," the mother said to the employee before the single shot. The St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office charged the reckless mother with first-degree assault, armed criminal possession, unlawful use of a weapon, endangering the welfare of a child, and first-degree property damage. She's being held on $150,000 cash-only bond at the St. Louis County Justice Center. What a mess. But I heard him say something racist, really. You know, it always defaults to that. But in your crazed, nutty reaction, because your ass didn't get kissed, you not only nearly murdered a waiter, you almost murdered your own daughter. Yeah. Throw her away. What a piece of shit. This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. And now it's time for the Bayou Crime Report. Sicko busted a third time for allegedly pretending to be disabled to get diaper changed. Dear God. Hey, I'm Red Neckerton. A Louisiana sicko was hit with human trafficking charges after allegedly pretending to be disabled online to lure a nanny into his home to change his diaper. It's a foul trick he's already been busted for twice. He just can't quit getting his diaper changed. That's what gets him to shoot his goo. In more ways than one. Rutledge, that's right, his name is Rutledge Deese the fourth, 35, was arrested after using an online nanny service to request help caring for someone with special needs in order to coax the worker to a Lafayette home. Oh, dear God. But when the victim showed up, the alleged trafficker pretended to be disabled, telling the worker they needed to carry out duties consistent with infant care, including his diaper changes. Deese was charged with one count of human trafficking. He was previously arrested for pulling the same stinky ruse in 2019 and 2021. The wacko was placed on probation in 2020 after pleading guilty to 10 counts of each of sexual battery and human trafficking for posting fake ads online, falsely claiming he was seeking home health care for his 18-year-old brother, whom he described as mentally and physically disabled. Well, definitely got some mental crap going on. But anyway, police said he posed as the brother and got off when the home care aide changed his adult diaper. God damn. Deese was cuffed again in 2021 after pretending to be a younger man with special needs, undergoing alternative therapy, and offered to pay a babysitter to change his diapers. It attempted to persuade the victim to recruit others to care for him. He pled guilty to human trafficking the following year and was sentenced to 10 years behind bars with 9 suspended. When he was released, he was ordered to serve 5 years probation. Deese is now locked up at Lafayette Parish Correctional Center. Authorities encourage anyone with information to call the Louisiana Special Victims Unit at 504-310-7012. I mean, I don't know if you want to admit that you changed this dude's diaper and that you fail for this shit, but I mean, they gotta keep him in there, you know? They gonna keep doing this. And I guess, the trafficking is that he tricked these broads into coming to his house, so, he didn't really traffic them by going and getting them and hauling them across around and all that. No. He just called him up and said, oh, I got this messed up brother and I need some nurse to come in and change his shitty drawers. So she shows up, and it's just some dude with a raging heart on has got some fetish for some broad to come change his shitty drawers. I guess they eventually noticed that and called the police. Oh, God. Oh. Man, I'm going to need a minute after this. This one's sick. He's still doing it. He'll probably do it again. Anyway, the Bayou Crime Report, I am Red Neckerton, reminding you to keep your goddamn hose clean and do it yourself, sick bastards. The Bayou Crime Report is a presentation of Nailsin Productions. All right. We're back. Took a little while longer, so I had to throw in Bayou Crime Report. That's how that works. Anyway, there's the Dave Gilmore image that I use for the Dave Gilmore jeering, and so oh wait, I got his guitar wrong. It had all this there. Damn it! Well, that's the black and white drawing. But anyway, Caligula here. So, I never can catch this distortion that happens on it. Anyway, all right. I've already desaturated it. So, what I'm going to do, move forward here. Oh my God, oh no.
See, that reveals the darkness of his evil soul. All right. That's a little better as far as that goes. Might want to touch that up a tad. And then, once again, we go to the filter dry brush. Well, let's see. I don't know. Maybe this will work. Yeah, that works good enough. So, all right. So, typically, I believe he was blonde-headed. So, we'll go with that. And put the full name. But anyway, I never did see the movie Caligula. So I understand it was produced by Bob Guccione. So he ended up shooting hardcore pornography into it. But the in my humble opinion, John Hurt's depiction of Caligula in the I, Claudius series is the best, and pretty much steals the show while it's that part of the story. I mean, they go through, they go through Augustus, Tiberius, then Caligula, and then, of course, Claudius himself. And then he meets his end eventually. And it's all this sort of thing. There's this ongoing hope that the Republic could be restored, and that would be better, and that the imperial nature with the emperors and everything was the wrong way to go. And, of course, you could see the power corrupt not just the emperor himself, but everyone else. And they were all scheming and vying for power and influence and all that sort of stuff, and these terrible plots that were afoot. So regardless of whether anyone was nuts or not, they were all pretty rotten people, with, the occasional exception. Let me back out of there. It needs its own layer. There we go. And we will take the opacity out a bit more there. All right, that's a little better. But that's human nature. So even with, if they had went back to being a republic, and the Senate was the main ruling power in Rome, they'd still be cutting deals and screwing around and all that sort of stuff. But at least, power in the hands of one man would not be the order of the day. So there's that, and it was an advancement of sorts because just everything else was monarchy. It was just the way it was. And it went back to that after them for quite a while. And so even though you had people of the intellectual capacity to understand this, there was very little they could do about it because the power had been achieved, and the pursuit of power just is going to lead to that. So morals and senses of fairness and rule of law and all that just gets tossed aside because of the pursuit thereof and its consequences. But of course, that's the backdrop and the problems that they're interested in or pursuing. But ultimately, the drama unfolds of the madness and the drunkenness on power and whatnot, and of course the usual they kind of went insane. Some way more than others, and certainly in the case of Caligula, but with the boredom. You know, everybody else, most people, you know, every day is a day of survival, of work, and stuff like that. But these guys, they had a lot of leisure time. And quite a few of them did. And that's why there was more respect for the leaders who actually had military campaigns and the like, because, well, look, they did put their heads on the line for, you know, the glory of Rome and so on. Whereas somebody who just inherited it, which is what it was becoming, didn't. Now, some of them would come in like Claudius. He didn't fight in any wars because he couldn't. You know, he was handicapped and all that. But it was, his brain was, you know, pretty good. He was quite the thinking man. And you know, this became obvious once he was in power and all that. So they were all very impressed with that. And but then he was gone, and then they were right back with a spoiled, rotten, evil bastard like Nero, who, because Caligula did have, I mean, he had this nickname when he was a kid given to him by the army, Little Boots, because they had fashioned some little soldier boots for him when he was a kid. But that's when he was a kid. I do think he had some, you know, stints in military and whatnot, and that sort of thing was considered paramount for anyone who was going to ultimately take command, leadership, all that sort of stuff. But eventually, especially in the case of Nero, pretty much falls by the wayside. Nero wanted to be an actor, wanted to, you know, it was just nuts what he wanted to do. And that didn't sit well with the populace, you know, is why it eventually does him in, because it's like, what is, you know, this stupid crap. But ultimately what does him in is he pretty much breaks the bank over building this enormous palace for himself. That it's still there. It was ultimately it became underground and forgotten. But he had it built, but it was horribly expensive, and it was basically the size of a city. It was so huge. So it was nuts. Again, for what he was doing and all that. And I believe the quote was that once he was in there, no, that's not going to work. He said, finally I can live like a human being, or some crap like that, you know. And, well, they said, hey, we're not getting paid, and this is all your fault, you know. Well, I have to live like a human being. Oh. So, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you can die like one, too. You've got a choice to kill yourself, or we'll do it for you. And so he opted for that. Once they'd had enough of his crap. And it becomes a common theme, a lesson for all these power-mad people. If you lose the military, you're done. I mean, you can be kind of popular with the people and stuff like that, but if you don't have military support, you have no power. And Nero kind of learned that the hard way. So did Caligula, because he was mocking them and stuff like that. And they go, oh yeah, well, yeah, because turns out he really wasn't a god. He was just some dude. And when those knives went in, oh, it hurt. And then he bled out. And, well, That was it. But that's always the thing. And granted, it still goes that, well, they don't want, you know, the empire to collapse or the reign of emperors to go away as far as the Praetorian Guard goes, because if it went back to being a republic and you had the Senate in charge and stuff, they got to go back to just being the regular soldiers in the army. We got it pretty good here. This is a cushy job here. All we got to do, we hang out at the palace, and you know, we get to have our way with a lot of the chicks and all that. It's great, and you can stay in Rome instead of going off into some crappy country they, you know, conquered. You know, and he's like, I don't want to be there. So that's why, you know, they quickly snatched up Claudius and stuff like that. But it's the same situation again and again. So even after an emperor becomes a problem, they're like, yeah, but if we topple him, the whole thing could, you know, fall in, and now it's a bigger problem than before. And they didn't really want that because, again, they figured, hey, man, we got a good thing going here. So they just have to calculate it at the time of, you know, we really can't stand this guy anymore. We're going to risk it. And so that's what would happen. And, well, it worked out because the Republic never came back. So they just kept doing emperors, you know. Maybe it'll be all right. And, oh well. Of course, eventually, it fell, you know. But that was a long time away. For a long time, it was like, that's unthinkable. Until you think it, you know? Then it's not unthinkable anymore, is it? No. Whoops. Now a lot of this comes down to the isolation that an emperor would have. Nobody else lives anything close to what he does, and it separates him even further from the rest of humanity. So, of course, he no longer relates to his fellow man, or Roman in this case. And this, too, it's going to be a problem. And it was. And with all the stupid emperor worship and all that crap, well, that was definitely going to do a number on people whose minds are already a bit broken to begin with. And that's exactly what happened. Now, they did have this practice of, like, Roman generals, after having a successful campaign, would come back to a big parade in Rome and all that. And everybody's cheering them on. And it's like, yeah, you're hot shit and all that. But they were always supposed to have a guy whispering in his ear, telling him, you are but mortal, so that he doesn't lose his humility. Because, you know, the great feeling of victory you start believing you're invulnerable and godlike and all that sort of crap. And then you're going to screw up one way or another. So they had to, you got to stay humble. You know, so that was the purpose of that. But since it just becomes this sort of ritual and whatnot, they probably, yeah, I'm just a mortal man, sure. But I'll be the one that never dies. I'll be the one. And they end up probably getting killed. Didn't take the enemy seriously. something of that nature. Dies on the battlefield, something like that. And ah, damn, I guess I wasn't divine after all. No, you weren't. All right, there we go. Caligula, another monster, Emperor of Rome. All right, now to our formerly happy couple. I will put color to their portrait. Let me get rid of this crap. An unsightly line. And we'll zoom in. Whoop, 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 whoop. Alright. So we'll just go all the way. Oh no! It looks like one of those Japanese horror movies. There we go. We fix all that. Oh, good. Oh, thank God. It was really scary for a second there. Oh, no. Well, don't worry. It's all over now. And then we'll put the dry brush filter to it. Whoops. Gonna have to go back in a little for her eyebrow. There we go. Good enough. And we'll put that there, this here. That'll work. Sure. This. There we go. All right. So let me look for their image. Thank you, Caligula. It was really great. There we go. Whoops, whoops, whoops. All right, pretty basic. He was nice enough to wear white pants, so don't have to really do anything there. Oh, I wonder what color her eyes are. Green, I guess. Yeah, we'll go with that. I don't know about him. Brown? Yeah. All right. Okay, so orange for this shirt. Now this might go haywire, but oh my God, it didn't. Look at that. Damn. All right. So it's, can't say it's all that flattering of an outfit. It just looks like she's wearing an orange trash bag. But I don't know. She decided to wear that. They had some dog show or something, or is that a movie poster? I don't know. I really don't. I really do. We will put color to the hair. So, oh, is that where that, what's his name? Damn it, I've already done forgot. Alberto or something like that. He pulled her ponytail and while he was, and then she would do watercolors depicting the events and then leave those laying around for the husband to come find. And their kids, good Lord. Or at least that's what he alleges took place. And oh, it's so embarrassing because no one could hurt you as bad as someone you loved, Oh, it hurts. It hurts. And that's why the thin line between love and hate, because when the betrayal happens, oh boy, now you can have an enemy. It's someone you just never liked, and you never liked each other, and all that kind of thing. And you're going to hate them, but not nearly as much as someone you once loved. And then they do you wrong, then it's, oh, good Lord, that's way worse. So, such is the case here with this couple. And once that line was crossed, the husband here really doesn't like his wife anymore. Oh, God. And she's the mother of his children and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah, but, oh, God, is she a bitch. So, at one time, you know, it was as if she walked on water, you know. He says, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm this lucky. She's so beautiful and all that. And now it's just like, you piece of shit. And, oh, boy, it's sad. But that's what happens when you you cheat. And that's what she did. There's no doubt about that. There's no denying the affair and everything. Because she says it in the story. It's like, well, I fell in love or something like that. Like, oh, well, look. You were minding your own business and then suddenly you fell in love with someone else. I mean, it happens all the time. So it's like, oh, well, I guess I just have to accept that. Yeah, no. Yeah, he wasn't keen on that. But geez Louise, can't you clean up after yourself? You don't leave the lube on the floor and your weird watercolor paintings. Crap like that and your crotchless panties, leaving those laying around. Of course, I don't know, maybe that was like the maid was falling down on the job. Of course, she was probably like, I don't want to touch those. And old Liz here thought, I just assumed she would take care of that. Well, yeah, but she didn't want to touch that after you and Alberto have been going at it, So, see, if you just thought a little, but whatever, the damage was already done because she had betrayed the marriage. And I'm sure she'll come up with reasons as to how her cheating, well, it was all his fault, He never would have even thought of doing something like that if he had just been a better husband, I mean, he showered her with millions of dollars and expensive gifts and stuff, but I'm sure there was always one more thing she thought, well, why didn't he get me that? He didn't. So I guess the honeymoon's over. The thrill is gone. I need to go find a new boyfriend. And that's what she did. Plus, it's probably just, well, you got bored. I mean, he's the old sugar daddy, but you ain't getting any younger. So, like, oh, God, I need a distraction from the inevitable end of life, So, besides, hey, an affair could do that. And, well, that's what she did. Yeah. Meanwhile, the husband has all this embarrassment. I don't know what the custody situation would be with the children. They're probably going to lock horns on that, no doubt. Then again, it could just come down to, well, she is younger than you, so And I forget that the kids are young. So she'll probably get primary custody, even though she's the one who betrayed the marriage. Now, of course, he's extraordinarily wealthy. Well, those kids are, at least financially and having a roof over their head and everything, they're going to be just fine. All this other stuff, it's too late to worry about that now. Whatever impact it has on them, it's going to happen. You can't avoid that. So it's the usual thing. Kids find out that mommy and daddy are breaking up, and they're like, their world crumbles, and it's like, well, if mommy and daddy can stop loving each other, who's to say they'll stop loving me? Yeah, and this is very traumatic on the psyche of a child. So, you know, some of them will act out, they'll become drunks and drug addicts and that kind of thing. And then, of course, the war continues forever between the parents, so one turns the other against, you know, the kid. Later on, they may figure it out themselves as to which parent really screwed up more than the other. And appears that the mom here is who really screwed up. But however that unfolds, one day there was, I was really hard on you, Dad. I didn't realize Mom was such a bitch. It's okay, honey. And they'll have their little moment where the poor old man shuffles off this mortal coil. Yeah. I guess that's the best he can hope for as far as that goes. But it's the strange thing. It's like, God, she was the one showering gifts and money on the other guy, and you would think, oh, you know, it's, she done found herself a younger man. And no, he's an old dude. And, I mean, I guess she's a bit of a gullible idiot. Yeah. He really speaks to me. He makes me feel like a woman again, or some shit like that, you know. And got her to invest in all kinds of crap with this guy's money into his crazy schemes. So the most notable of all, there was a prenup agreement, so she might end up hurting pretty severely with all of this. Now she'll be using the kids, of course. So he's pissed off and mad, but I'm afraid he's kind of stuck when it comes to that. But a prenup is a prenup. So that's why it's going to be quite the vicious battle over custody of the kids, because that would be the one thing for her to hold on to his pocketbook for a little while longer. And say, well, you know, child support and everything. But if he has full custody and like, oh, well, you can visit, something like that. Well, how's she going to milk him after with that, you know? Yeah, that's the thinking. Damn it. for the little image. Oop, wrong one. There we go. All right. The unhappy couple. At one time, though, they were happy together, weren't they? I mean, they got married. You would think there was something there. Now there is only hate and disgust, especially on account of her leaving the. What the hell? Oh, is it still selected? I guess so. The crotchless panties, the lube, very erotic watercolor paintings of Alberto giving it to her or whatever. Oh boy, you really just had to leave that laying around, didn't you? Oh, doing it again. Well, I suppose another extra little layer for a bit of color for the pants. Oop, don't want it too far. There we go. All right. Ta-da. Oh, wait, he had a striped tie. Well, good enough. You get the idea. Now for Dave. Dave Gilmore. Well, don't worry. We'll take all that out. There we go. And dry brush. Okay. This adds color to the hair. Yes. And there we go. All right. I wonder. This will, nope, got to do its own layer. Whoop. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ah, crap, really screwed up the strings on the guitar. Alright. Whoops. That made his hair all green. Ew. Okay. And then one of these, another layer. Alright. Put this there. And we'll flatten that. Whoops. You bastard. Alright. Damn it. Hands going numb. It's just unaware of how much pressure I put upon the hand as it, works on this mouse. Get rid of that. Whoa. And we don't want that. We don't want this. We don't want this. This. Yeah, none of these split ends. Giggle D. Wonder how far that'll. Oh, wow, look at that. I didn't think it would work. Huh. Alright. Yeah. Alright. Yay. Yay. Shine on, you crazy diamond. All right. Thank you for participating. We'll have to do it again sometime. Won't that be great? All right, there we go. Dave Gilmore, the sad couple, and of course, Emperor Caligula, who can't be bothered. He's too important, and he's like, you all know that I'm superior, better than you. Just accept it. It's just the way it is. All right. Did I get the other thing? Oh, wait. No, I got to check. Did it work? Oh, damn it. Oh, crap. It's not even there. Yeah, that. Yeah, that'll work. It's like somehow, some way, it knows. Come on, let me hurry up and put this thing up. No, that didn't show up at all, so you didn't see any of that. Oh, well. Well, these things happen. So anyway, that'll do it. I do have a Wednesday comics thing, and that'll be forthcoming, and so you'll get that. As for the Nailsin rating stuff, Nailsin news stuff, probably, I don't know, later in the night. I gotta do a pop culture breakdown show, and so that'll be that, yeah. All right. Where is my conclusion? There it is. Okay. Toxic JPEG says, hey, Toxic JPEG, you gon' get it too? Spanish sushi bar sounds nasty. Yeah, I know. I don't know what, but that's, it's the staff they had. LOL, the Bayou Crime Report. OMG, that's funny. Yeah, thank you. Rutledge DS balls. A. Thompson, what? A. Thompson, your first YouTube video is from 15 years ago. Why are you not monetized? We've already been through this. Look, I can get the numbers, but it ain't going to matter. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. You understand? I don't think so. All right. That's it for this episode. Hopefully there'll be another one. And we'll get to it. Yes, we will. Good Lord, am I tired. Yeah, I am. Oh, jeez. There's just not enough time in the day to take care of everything. But everybody already knows that. All right. Let me check one more time. Yeah, no super tips. Oh, well. Okay. So, see you next time. Thanks for watching. And
this is the end. Beautiful friend. This is the end, my friend. It hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me, because this is the end. This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my friend. It hurts to set you free, but you'll never follow me, because this is the end. This is the end, beautiful friend.
Citizens, rise with me and let our voices shake the very foundations of this empire.